Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Cinema Review. On today's episode, we're covering from 1987, Less Than Zero, with Robert Downey Jr. We had our buddy L.A. Ron back in for this one. Living out in L.A. in the 80s, he had a little background on what was going on with everything, the drug scene, and pretty much everything portrayed in this movie. So it was cool to have him in here. It was a good movie to cover. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I forgot a lot of it, but it was a good one to watch. So definitely want to check it out. If you're enjoying the show, and we hope you are, please leave us that 5-star rating in Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you're at. On Apple, you can leave us a written review, and that really helps us out. If you look in the show description, we have a merch store that's up and running. You can get over there and get yourself some Old Dirty Basement sweatshirts, t-shirts, you name it. So we hope you do that, and we hope you enjoy Less Than Zero.
Hey, this is Matt.
And this is Dave,
And welcome to Vintage Cinema Review.
where every week we review some of our favorite films from the past.
Hey, there ain't no late fees here. Hey, yo, what's up, fellas? I see the couch is full again. What are we playing in the V.C.R. today?
What's going on? Yeah, we got Less Than Zero.
Oh man, this is a classic.
So Zap, you said this is the first time you saw this through?
Yeah, first time.
Okay.
First time. Heard about it long time ago. Heard the soundtrack long time ago. Finally, recently got to see the movie.
Nice. This one was brought to us by Ron because this is another LA movie.
L.A. Ron, thank you.
LA
Oh my
Ron.
gosh, this reminds me of my youth.
Yeah, so this one will be a good one to get into here. Before we get into that, the Old Dirty Mailbag, real quick. So we did that on the true crime, and we also get feedback, obviously, on the movie reviews. So two quick things.
We should have a little thing where you like go in and
Like a rustling sound.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be cool. So first thing, listener Roger pointed out in The Real Genius, we were talking about mid-1980s and the internet. Not really aware of what stage we were at with internet, but he brought up that there were things called message boards and people had dial-up modems and things like that. So Zap and Ron, you were talking before the podcast. You can kind of elaborate on that or kind of fill us in on that.
Oh, how it all grew. Started out with like 2,400 baud, then it went to the 9,600 baud, then 1,800 baud, then 24,000 baud, and that was smoking.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember that too. So the computers back then, at least in the Real Genius world, so you're talking mid '80s. My first computer would have been a Commodore 64. I tried. I swear to God, I tried a couple of times with that thing to get on the internets, late night, whatever.
Boardrooms.
Moms and pops is asleep. Give it a shot.
Like Real Genius or
Man,
Weird Science, I'm sorry.
Nothing. I couldn't get a goddamn thing on
He
that
was
thing.
a weird genius.
I just
Yeah.
could not get that thing to work.
Doesn't it make you feel old if you go to like the Smithsonian and there's like your first computer and like a big glass case?
Big glass
Yeah.
case.
You're just like, hey, I had
remember
one just
that,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, him saying that right now, that little tidbit there makes me think of Weird Science, and wonder how many kids tried that with like a Barbie doll. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah,
Making stuff happen.
Maybe two.
maybe. But one other thing here, listener Sean, who actually recommended a movie we're going to do next week called The Outsiders, which is I'm looking forward to. He brought up the story in Real Genius where the guy was doing the sweepstakes. His dad, I forget what he said the job was that his dad did, but he was able to go into dumpsters at like Roy Rogers or Hardee's and get the cups that people would throw away with the peel-offs.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to win every prize that they were offering that year. They basically gave him the prizes. They wouldn't give, it was like a Mac computer was like the biggest prize you could win, and they wouldn't give that one to him.
Wait, he went dumpster diving for stuff that was already thrown out?
Yeah, people would get the cups and different things
Probably
and throw
not
them
peel
out.
them. Just throw
Yeah.
the cup away without realizing there was a sweepstake on
I
it.
forget what he said his job was, but it was something that maybe it was sanitation, maybe it was something like that. But he was in and around these
I
places.
thought he was just like walking by being like,
No,
let me just,
no, it was
maybe
just-
I'll find something to eat.
It was something along those
Give me some
lines
prizes.
that he had access to all those, and he was just going around collecting them, and he won every prize, but the one they wouldn't honor it because they knew what he was doing. I guess they're like, nobody can order this much food, you know what I mean, and this and that. So
There was the thing with McDonald's too. I think when they did the Monopoly, somebody like beat the system.
He cheated the system.
Cheated the system.
Right.
I think he ended up going to jail behind that.
right,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he started paying people to participate and play, and he was part of the security team.
Yeah, and those things, and that one was specifically with like the big winners, right? Like
Yes.
the boardwalk or whatever could get you something large. There was only a finite number of those made. They were kept under, lock and key, and it would transfer from this place to that place into the other place. And they, as Ron had mentioned, for damn sure, a select few people knew about that, let alone had access to it. And once you are able to get the access to it and move it to wherever you want, now you're able to tell people, go to this place on this day and buy this. It's over.
Yeah,
The
right.
fix is
Inside
in.
job, man.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
I remember that working there in high school. I remember my first paycheck job with withholdings was McDonald's. And when that Monopoly thing ran, man, that stuff was under lock and key.
Wow.
Absolutely lock and key. I'm saying even fry containers.
That's from
Right.
like behind the scenes there.
They
Yeah.
had to inventory that shit every day, count every fry container that went out the door, every cup that went out the door. Yeah, it was bananas.
So they kept it. Yeah, that's pretty wild. But yeah, Sean, appreciate that story. I thought that was cool. He just kind of referenced that from Real Genius, and I think that's pretty much it this week for the old dirty mailbag. But please, you guys have any cool stories or comments? Reach out to us.
Questions?
Yeah, questions. We always like to reference it on air. So today's movie is Less Than Zero. So this one was brought by Ron. Release date on this, November 6, 1987. It was rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 38 minutes. It was directed by Marie Canavisca. I hope I'm saying that right. Screenplay was Harley Payton, and it was based on a book by Bret Easton Ellis called Less Than Zero. And Bret Easton Ellis also wrote, you guys know?
You're going to remind me.
Yeah, it's American Psycho.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Classic.
Thank you. Knew I knew that name.
Yeah, that'll probably come up at the end in the fun facts, but it was here in well, I have the name here and just made me think of it.
Great job.
Yeah. This is produced by John Ebnett and Jordan Kerner. And Rick Rubin is music supervisor, and we'll definitely get into the soundtrack. There's definitely a lot to talk about there.
Mm-hmm.
Budget on this movie, $8 million. Box office, 12.4.
Man,
No, well, hey, that's a cha-ching. That's a 50% something return. I'd say the juice was worth the squeeze on that one.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. There you have it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with budgets and stuff. Like, is it fair to compare a movie from, like, say, 1980 to, 2020 because of the amount of money?
Inflation.
But I guess your cost
Dollar
is
value.
up, too. So I guess you just have to look at the ratio, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the return versus what my investment was. And
Okay.
once that becomes a percentage, it's going to be a percentage in today's dollars versus, 35 years ago dollars.
Also, you think about it, back then, $1 million was like an infinite amount of money. Nowadays, that's like a drop in the bucket to some people.
It is.
You still have to work if you want to mill after taxes.
Yeah.
So, Ron, around this part's usually now where we're going to try to reference, like, the filming locations. This looked like it was filmed, and what I could find was all around Los Angeles. Like, a lot of the places look familiar to you out there.
Oh, most definitely. Another fact is, like, back in the 80s, a lot of these movies, like the Some Kind of Wonderfuls and all the, like, Brat Pack stuff, were filmed at local high schools, and a lot of students got to be, like, extras.
Okay. Interesting.
Were you an extra in anything?
Yes, the
that
football team was Some Kind of Wonderful, was filmed at our school,
Cool.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
San Pablo High School. And some of these scenes are, like, at the local malls.
Oh, that's cool.
You'll see them cut
Yeah, a
in
lot of
and out.
80s movies. Back when malls were a really cool, important place to be, where the cool kids hung out.
And people could be controlled.
Yes.
Right. So, Zap, you got the cast there for us?
I do indeed. So the cast in this gem includes Andrew McCarthy as Clay Easton, Jamie Gertz as Blair, Robert Downey Jr. as Julian Wells, James Spader as Rip, Nicholas Pryor as Benjamin Wells, Tony Bill as Bradford Easton, Donna Mitchell as Elaine Easton, Michael Bowen as Hop/Bill, Sarah Buxton as Marky, Jane Modine as Cindy, Lizanne Falk as Patty, and Neith Hunter as Alana.
Okay. Yeah, that the Hop Bell guy, Bill, I'm sorry. He was the like the enforcer guy,
Oh,
basically
the
the muscle
okay.
that
There
was
was.
James Spader.
Yeah,
He was one who always had to go after
like he just walked out of Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Robert
Right.
Downey Jr. and be like, hey, where's he at?
Yeah. He was the guy that was
We
Pimp
got some
Willie.
jobs for him.
And most of the other cast, I think most people know. I mean, well, the main people here, Spader and Downey Jr. and all them, they were.
Well, through the movie, there's basically 4 or 5 major characters,
yeah.
and the rest are kind of just extras and pop in and out.
Right. So, Matt, you got a synopsis.
Actually, yes, I do.
Oh boy.
Less than zero. They started out with everything. They ended up with less than zero. The best-selling novel by Bret Easton Ellis is vividly brought to the screen in the tale of Beverly Hills kids that have it all: money, looks, dreams, and stand to lose it all. In a spellbinding performance, Robert Downey Jr., the pickup artist, portrays Julian, a boy with looks, charm, smarts, and a father who sets him up in the record business. He's also got a best friend, Clay, Andrew McCarthy, St. Elmo's Fire, and a girlfriend, Blair, Jamie Gertz, from The Lost Boys. And Julian has a drug habit. Clay wants to help and is willing to do just about anything for his friend. But Julian's going down the tube so fast, he just might take both Clay and Blair with him. Fueled by exceptional acting and immensely effective photography, this powerful drama is unforgettable. It's a story of three kids who started out with everything going for them and are about to wind up with less than zero.
Good synopsis.
That was a riveting synopsis.
That was, I think, all right. And then that's it for Vintage Cinema Review.
Ouch.
Yeah, no, that was good, man. That was good. I printed out real nice and big for Matt.
Yeah,
to
I'm
read,
having,
so-
my eyes are bad. I need with my contacts, I have to do like a 0.75 in order to read.
Buddy. It's
all
okay.
right.
So I actually wore my glasses in the basement today.
It's okay.
Hey, it's a good look. It's a good
Yeah,
look.
thanks, guys. Thanks.
So, guys, when we get back, we're going to try to take them through the movie in a nice, concise way and break it down. And,
Concise. Yeah, We're going to, wow, it's professional
Well,
down
we'll,
here.
We'll see.
Like it.
So we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're still listening.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. So basically, the movie starts out after graduation out in L.A. Now, you said you're familiar with the high school out
Yes,
there.
yep.
Yeah. So basically, they're graduating. It looks like a happy teen movie at this point. Robert
It-
Downey.
Real quick question. Why were like all the kids popping cork on the Moettes?
So for this being my first time seeing this, I swear to God, I thought they were graduating college because these kids all have bottles of booze
Right in front of their
hands.
parents, just
That's
chilling.
the privileged lifestyle. So in Beverly Hills, you get away with that stuff. You got to remember what the cost of that was too.
Fair.
So now they're
It's
flaunting.
very
how much money
expensive
they
now,
have.
yeah.
Yes.
But they're all just walking around with bottles of Moet.
No big deal. Law
Wow.
doesn't apply to them.
You know what? I didn't even take notice of that. But that's a good point. Now you say that.
17, 18-year-olds just popping booze
Yeah.
and rolling.
Right.
Just say, oh yeah, Dad, I'm going to the party. Here, let me just drink this.
Yep, right in front of you. You want a sip?
No big deal. And Robert Downey Jr.
Like L.A. Ron said, man, privilege.
Privileged
Yeah.
kids, yes.
Well, we see that right away with Robert Downey Jr.'s father basically giving him, what was it, 50,000?
50,
What
I
about
think he
the
said.
car too? Remember, you got the car.
You got the card.
Yep.
We basically gave him money to open up a record company.
Yes,
basically.
studio.
The
Yeah,
50,000
studio.
comes later.
Oh,
Yeah,
it does
the
come
50
later.
as a loan.
Okay.
As a loan.
So they didn't really reference the money amount, but basically his dad's like, here's money to go start a record label.
But his dad was impressed with him.
Graduating.
Just graduating. He was like, I didn't believe we'd make it this far. He's like, whatever you need, son. I'm so proud of you. And like, he's like, I got you, Dad. Like, I'm going to make a living. I'm going to be a good
Make you
kid.
proud.
Yeah.
Yep. Make you proud.
Part of society.
Right. So we see this scene of them graduating. There's a freeze frame, basically. Everybody's happy. And then it fast forwards, 6 months later?
6 months.
And at this point, Andrew McCarthy, his character, Clay Easton, and Jamie Gertz and Robert Downey Jr.'s character are still back in L.A. And Andrew McCarthy's out on the East Coast. They didn't really say what college he's
yes.
at, but
It
he's
was-
in the
it
East
was
Coast
probably
University.
like an
Yeah.
Ivy League.
It was an Ivy League.
Yes,
You get because they showed like the old buildings in the background. Like it was snowing out because it was Christmas. I think they were
almost Christmas. Christmas
Yes.
was coming up. Yes.
He gets a phone call from Jamie Gertz, and basically take us through the phone call real quick. What was because I remembered it a different way. I thought that she called and said something along the lines of Julian's in trouble,
Well,
and
no,
or you just need to come home for
she
something.
just first she was questioning if he was coming home for the holidays, and she really wanted to see him, and she needed to.
She needed to see him. Is what she
needed to see-
stressed. I need
yes.
to see you.
And it kind of just alluded to, I might want you back or something.
Because I don't know if you mentioned they dated.
they were
Well-
a tight pack. They were a very tight pack.
Didn't Jamie Gertz and Andrew McCarthy, didn't they date Clay and Blair?
Well, we'll get to that here.
Well,
in a
yes.
minute.
I didn't know if they were dating in high school or not.
I
They
would
had, like, a
assume
Yes,
thing.
that
they were.
they
They were.
were-
They're a couple. They were a couple
Yes,
until
okay.
he split because he was trying to get her the whole time to go out with him to college, and she did. No, I'm going to stay back.
And that's the part I think, Dave's
Yeah.
alluding to.
So after the phone call, we have a flashback, and it turns black and white, and it's looking back at, I'm assuming after graduation, after the summertime, she's basically like, I'm not leaving California. I'm going to stay here to become a model. And he's going out. He's like, well, aren't you going to come out to college with me to the East Coast, this and that? And she's like, no, I'm going to stay here. And we come to find out while she did that, I guess it was over Thanksgiving break.
They call that the turkey drop.
What's that?
Is that what they call it, the turkey drop?
Yeah,
Where she cheated on him?
she was messing around with his best friend while he was
Right.
away at college.
So
No, I
Robert,
think that was before Thanksgiving. He came back early and he caught them together.
Well, I thought he was like Happy Thanksgiving to he was
When it
like Happy
happened?
Thanksgiving,
When you walked
Julian.
in on him?
Yeah.
Okay, possibly.
yeah. So we find out that they were sleeping together while he was in college
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So this is like 6 months later now when this phone call happens and he's heading back for what we're assuming then he does not know exactly what's going on.
No,
He just
he's
knows, okay.
still just kind of hoping that she wants him back.
That's what I gleaned. He wanted to. He's hoping.
Rekindle the fire.
Man, I got. He just keeps coming back, hoping and praying.
Things can change.
Right.
Then you got into that epic, another cool 80s montage of the plane taking off and Hazy Shade of Winter, which actually is
Yes.
Simon and Garfunkel song.
Remake of it.
Remake
Remake of it.
by
yes.
the
Bengals.
Bengals. Yeah, that was a killer song. back
great
then.
song. They
Yes.
did, I mean, still great song to this day. Both of them, actually.
Well, when he lands and he starts driving up to his house, they're going through the pond. You can see it's a very wealthy area, obviously. And,
Extremely.
extremely wealthy, yeah. And is he driving the Corvette at that time, the
I
red
thought he came
convertible?
No.
with a taxi or something.
He went up with
Maybe
the taxi. It was a yellow cab.
Yeah, yellow
Okay.
cab.
And his Corvette was sitting right there,
That's
Yeah,
right,
we
when he
got up
pulls
there.
which
up.
probably is $300,000 vet.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what it was in the
didn't care
80s,
about
but
it. He didn't care
yeah.
about it.
So he pulls up to this house, which is an insane house. I mean, it's one of those ones out on the cliffs in Los Angeles, like beautiful. I mean, the core and everything is to the period, but very modern, I guess, for the time.
For the
and,
time, yeah.
and shows you that he
And
comes
very
from.
hip for the time as well,
Right.
right? So televisions everywhere, stacked on top of one another to illustrate some kind of something going on. Like, there's MTV on every channel.
It was very Miami Vicey, like the homes.
That
Well, I think
was-
the
that
part
was
you're
going on.
referencing is the party. The party.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is that comes like I think that's that evening, but this is just like his house where his parents.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So where Zap's going with it is that night. Then he goes to the party. Or did I miss something there?
No, I was just thinking that would have had to be Malibu or Palos Verdes for the seaside view.
Or where they were at?
Yeah,
But
because
where-
Beverly Hills is landlocked.
But if for anybody listening, if you're thinking about these homes, just think of if you ever seen, I don't know, it's going back to is like Miami Vice or just the interior with like that modern like white or black furniture.
Very sterile looking.
Yes,
Not a
and,
lot of.
and these houses are whatever you think the size of these houses are. These are even bigger than
Right.
I think of what they're thinking. They're
It was-
just insane
It was
homes.
unlike anything I've ever seen. Anywhere
Exactly.
around
Yeah,
here.
I'd say the same.
So where Zap was going with it is later that night when he goes to the party and he gets to meet up with Jamie Gertz again, and Julian's at this party, and James Spader, who is the
Whose house is that?
Friends. They went to a friend's
Friend's party.
but at first he didn't want to go to the party.
He
Remember?
was opening up his mail and he saw there was an invitation and it read "Fuck Christmas" or "Let's
Yes.
fuck Christmas together."
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. But at first he wasn't going to go to the party. It was like he was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go. And then she's like, I'll be there. And then he was like, oh, I'm going.
Heck yeah.
right. So he shows up to this party, and what Zap was referencing, and I agree. That's the one thing that stood out to me is the number of TVs in this house and the amount of money. Because you think about TVs back then, these tube televisions. I mean, now they're cheap or next to nothing if you had a tube. But back then, I mean, imagine the amount of money they spent just on monitors.
There's like 100,000 cathode ray tube televisions throughout this house. They're stacked on top of one another.
Think about
Like,
the
it's,
heat.
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
But another thing too, people would do this. This reminds me of back when I was younger. We knew people like this, and we kind of got to rub shoulders with them.
Wow.
They would do that just for the party.
Yeah, people would come set that up, correct?
Just
yeah, because
for
that
the
wasn't
party.
sitting at their house. If
Yeah.
their parents were gone or whatever, you got to take that stuff
50,
down.
60 grand, boom, just for the layout of the party, not counting the alcohol or whatever other substances they bring along. But yes, that's how they got down out there in the 80s. 80s was wild.
So we get a taste of kind of what's going on with the drugs and stuff.
Well, I think, there's a big part where Clay, Andrew McCarthy, runs into James Spader, who was Rip. And he runs across him, and he was questioning, like, what are you doing here with, I don't know exactly the words he was using, but just like these low lives, like you're above them.
Right. I think because he thought that he stepped up and moved on because he was going to, college.
Out in
Ivy
college,
League
yeah,
college,
he was
yes.
saying, why are you coming back to hang out with these losers?
Yep, because
Basically.
these guys aren't going anywhere. They're
All
just going
of
to live
these-
off mommy and daddy's money.
To be clear, all of these users to whom I supply drugs.
Yes,
Right.
yes. He made that clear too, because he's the puppet master. At least in his mind, he was.
Well, because if you're selling drugs to children who are multimillionaires, I mean, the guy was an entrepreneur per se. Like, he was doing pretty damn good for himself.
Hopefully, but you don't know. Just because it looks like that,
True.
you got to re up and all that other
True.
stuff. So he's got to.
Yeah, the dealer always has a dealer.
There you
So
go.
yeah, he's always on it, like because he could be shot at any time. You never know.
Yes.
I
And
don't know
that
how it
comes
works,
up
but-
later too about
Yes.
him having to pay some bills.
Right. So we're at the party, and then pretty much after that, who wants to take us through? Like, you can take over from there.
Well, after the party, they split up and went back home, and I think he was still trying to hook up with her, and then she's kind of like letting him think that he has a chance, and then she's trying to break the news to him about Julian and how Julian's not doing good, and that she's here for Julian, and Julian needs us, and we got to do all this stuff for Julian.
And one scene that stood out to me after they left, I think it was after they left that party, they're driving around LA in a 2-seat Corvette with 3 of them in there. Like, it can't be safe to have like the guy just kind of hanging out the back. He almost
safe.
falls out at one point.
As was illustrated to us, he almost fell out of the. Oh, he did fall out of the car. He
Yeah.
almost
Right.
fell off the car.
Hang on, think about the police. Nobody pulled him over. That's totally illegal. They're
Right.
hanging out.
Well, that's another scene where they're there making out. Jamie
Yes.
Gertz and
bikers-
and
the
the bikers
bikers
are going by, but they're in the middle of the highway.
Right.
Like when somebody stops you.
Right.
Just money, man.
Yep, there you go.
So yeah, Jamie ended up basically dumping the story about Julian. After this party, they went to like an all-night diner or whatever.
Yeah, they were eating dinner.
Yeah,
They were
they're
kind of eating.
eating whatever.
Breakfast or whatever, yeah.
Loved that scene. Everybody in that place is smoking.
Yes.
Everybody is smoking, and
Something you can relate
that's
to.
what was the
Very
80s. man.
80s.
That was absolutely the 80s.
It was almost like a Denny's, but
Yeah.
a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit upscale.
Yeah.
It might have been a Denny's just in the
in
the
LA
right part of the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
I think
In
it
the
was
right
the-
part of the neighborhood.
It might have been the Peach Pit.
Yeah,
It might have
okay.
been.
Yeah.
Might have been.
But later, is it later that night that we get to see Julian out partying even more at like a club, and he was like,
Yeah,
like
I think
Well,
he
he-
was freebasing. He was freebasing.
He runs,
somewhere.
he runs into Rip again, and he's like, man, and this is where Rip brings up the money that he owes him.
Yes.
And he's like, Julian, I get it, man, but where's my money? And I think it's like a thing when if you're a dealer like that, you don't want to kill a guy like Julian,
right.
Because he's eventually going to pay you.
At least you hope so. He's good for it.
Well, yeah, he's good for it somehow, and plus, it's a guy he can get to do whatever he wants for him.
Not yet. He's getting there.
But still, he has him under his thumb. He knows because
He's on the pipe,
he's on the pipe,
and that's
he
the one
goes-
that bites you hard and doesn't let go.
and he gives him, I think he gives him like 2 rocks because Julian's like, oh man, I got these girls for you. They want to score all kinds of blow.
Right.
He's like, yeah, just and he's like, all right, here, but Julian, this is your last time. And it shows him freebasing or whatever, like in a corner and
Yes.
dancing
Yeah.
around.
And
But
it-
you can tell he got some problems.
And did you notice the song that was on? I thought it was so fitting, and we'll get into the soundtrack later. But
Was it like a-
It was Jimi Hendrix. It was the.
Excuse me while I kiss
yeah.
the sky.
No, it was
Wasn't it Purple Haze?
Purple
no,
Haze?
it was.
Oh, let me stand next to your
Let me
fire.
stand next to your
Yes,
fire.
yes.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yes.
So it kind of was like fitting.
And he was
for
like,
what
it was
was
pumping up too. He was
Yeah.
just getting into it. Yep. He was jamming to it. Down, he was getting in it.
Right. So at this point, you can see his drug habits.
And you can
Very-
tell he's out there.
Well, he's biting it a little bit. He's
Right.
not there yet because you can see he's going to physically start to change, and you're going to see the monster get a hold of him.
True.
But yeah, he's on that pipe hard, and that's something you don't want to play with.
So is it after that he goes to the uncle?
No, not
the
yet.
car
Not yet.
dealership?
Not
So
yet.
where are we at
Not yet.
between that then?
He starts freebasing and getting his little smoke on. He goes and crashes at some bench, I believe. He goes.
That's
and
right.
Passes out.
Yes,
on the
passes out on the
just
bench in a park.
Yeah, just in a random park.
But I guess he was on drugs, or maybe that was a little bit, not as much as he is now. But that's where Clay said, "I thought I'd find you here."
Right.
So
He
that
kinda
was
knew
one
where
of
to
his
find him.
spots where
He
he
had a
might have
few.
got high, and
He had a few spots because he had
Yeah.
the beach too.
The
Remember?
one
yes,
on
that
the
rock
rock.
on the beach.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot
So
about
he had
that.
a couple spots.
Jamie Gertz knew about that one.
Yeah. So he was a troubled soul.
So eventually, at some point, he ends up with the uncle, and the uncle's like a Mercedes car dealer,
Yep,
and he's
car
trying to get
dealership.
money from him. He's constantly he wants to buy this club, correct? And he
Finance
keeps
some type of
finance some
business.
club. Do you think he really wants to do that, or do you think he wanted the money for just more drugs?
Ponzi. He's
Ponzi.
Ponzi, and he's trying to pay off.
Shifting
Rip
that
the-
money to like
pay
kinda,
Rip off.
okay.
Well,
Hold him off.
we have to. Did we mention that his dad isn't helping him at all? Even though his dad's house is, I mean, they got.
Well, he
like
did break into his
fountains and-
dad's house, and that's where I didn't know if that was that next morning or not when he broke into the dad's house.
I'm not sure about that.
Right.
Yeah, well, the dad kicked him out and said, "Don't come back."
Yeah, because he blew all his money.
Right, and I think what they didn't really allude to or get into it, I think he was already stealing from the family because he says something later on about how what you've done to us and how you're treating your family and all this other stuff.
But pretty much the dad is done with him. The dad,
dad's like-
multi-millionaire, has all the money in the world, could help his son at any time. But he's like, I gave you so much already. I can't
Well-
do it because it was too hard on him and the family. I
But
believe.
also, he's been to rehab several times.
That's
He
true.
gave him
He was
many
in the,
shots.
so he's sent him to rehab. He's done all these things to try to help him. You know, at first we kind of see the dad and think he's like some hard ass guy who's being a prick to his son. Then later on we find out all the things he kept trying to help his son. He kept trying to help his son, and the son wasn't going for it. He was just like, you know, give me some money so I can go get high again.
He's basically giving him tough love. Like,
Yeah, trying to. He was trying to. He was trying to.
But is this the tough love thing? I don't know. Well, we'll talk about that later when
Yeah.
we get to it. But
So the dad wants nothing to do. Well, comes off like he wants nothing to do with him. The uncle seems like he's going to help him.
Okay, here's where Julian worked his magic, because Julian had to hook up with Rip and was getting drugs. And remember, they got the uncle high. They did a couple of
yeah,
lines.
because he's like,
Oh, when they were in the Mercedes.
dealer.
Yep,
Yeah.
they went in the
car.
back and got high.
So he was dealing to his uncle.
This is why Rip likes him, because he's an in to other people that Rip can't get to.
The wealthy?
The
or
wealthy,
ultra wealthy?
and that's a runner that you don't have to have contact with these new faces. So he gives to him, and he runs it to the other guys, and gets everybody partying.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. So then at that part, then where the uncle calls him out, like, hey, look, your dad, my brother, right? It was his brother, his dad, said, look, I'm
Wait. No, not yet, because he's going to give him the money. He agrees to give him the money.
That's at the dealership.
that was when they were getting high.
Yeah.
Right. They got the bump up. He said, I'm going to give you the money. And Julian's all excited, and he goes back to see Rip and tells Rip that he's going to, I'm going to have your money now. I'm going to have it. And Rip's like, okay, I heard this before. Okay. He's like, well, give me a little bit more. Give me a little bit more, and I'm going to take care of you. Rip believes him. Hooks him up with a couple more rocks. You know
just
what I mean?
running up that debt.
Yep.
But that's where Clay and Blair are like, they're hearing Julian, and he's like, I'm on the comeback. Like, I'm finally going to be okay. And Clay's like, yeah, I can get the hell out of here. Like, you were my best friend for 10, 15 years, but I can go back home now. Like, maybe I
Right,
can
everything's
get
okay.
rid-
Yep,
yes,
you don't need me.
everything's looking pretty good.
The ball starts to roll real fast here.
I
Things
think-
start really
Wait,
accelerating.
we go back to Rip's house, and I think there's Julian on the chair outside, right?
Bumping up, yep,
yeah,
yep.
he's smoking again.
Yep.
And Rip has a
that's
little
right.
conversation with him, like
Spaders.
yeah.
Spader, yep.
James Spader, who I think like made this movie.
Yeah, he did an excellent job to be that little snake in the grass.
Yeah, just like little cameos he had here and there, but just his attitude, the guy is a freaking wolf, man. And he just got all these sheep around him, and he's just
Would that be bravado? He had like a bravado about him, the way he carried himself.
I would certainly say he has a bravado.
Yes, and he was just like slick. He knew everybody, and everybody knew him.
everybody knew him.
and they kind of respected him.
Right.
He kept it cool, though.
Yes,
He didn't flaunt it.
Nope.
He definitely
No, not
kept
at
it
all.
cool.
and tried not to break a sweat. He tried not to get upset. Even when he was angry.
Yeah.
he just tried to like grit through his teeth and be like, "Listen, you owe me my money. I need my money."
In the meantime, go get high again, because I'm going to get all my money eventually.
Yes. Yep. Keep feeding me more clients.
At this point, did the uncle? Has the uncle yet given the bad news?
He's about to.
Yeah.
He's about to, because the scene that I was referencing earlier was when they finally go to the club that he's looking to buy, and the uncle tells him, like,
I can't do this.
I can't. Your dad told me to not give you the money.
Between the time we were blowing lines and now, your dad talked to me,
Right.
Yes. Yep.
and he
Found out.
reminded me that you're a scumbag. But I'll see you on Thanksgiving, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right.
That you're going to snort it up your nose is what he was telling him.
What we haven't mentioned yet is how Jamie Gertz is some kind of high end model, right?
She's getting there. She's working her way up.
But she's working her way up. She's getting all kinds of like gigs and stuff like that. But her dad, you guys saw his house.
Yes.
I thought that was a hotel that she was pulling up
and
to.
like his girlfriend or wife was like some little young
young
that
girl.
she knew. She was like almost the same
friends.
age
I think
as her.
they were showing like they maybe went to high school or something
they were
together.
friends, yeah.
They were friends.
A couple years difference.
And the thing that, like, if Julian was in this much trouble and she was so close to Jamie Gertz, who seemed like she had an okay relationship with her dad, why couldn't he give the $50,000?
But they have in the past, because that came up earlier that we've always bailed him out. We've taken care of Julian. Julian, remember, he was like going off saying we bailed him out many times before.
Okay.
It's not going to stop.
It's not gonna stop.
Yeah, he needs help, real help.
But it just seemed, like this money to them, it seemed like 50,000 was a drop.
And this is back then, so that would be like $120, $150 now.
Something,
Right.
yeah.
But the wealth I saw in this movie, it should be attainable. Like no problem, not no problem. But
Well, look at the uncle. He didn't bat an eye at that money. I mean, you go ask somebody for $15,000 right now. Go call your uncle and say, I need $15,000.
right.
No, it was 50.
$50,000. $50,000. I'm sorry.
$50,000, yeah.
$50,000.
Did you have the equivalent?
Yeah. So I was trying to calculate some numbers earlier.
Uh-oh.
So
here we go.
So to all the math fans out there, not meth, but math.
Look at the
Since,
movies.
since we're on topic, so $50,000 back in '87 would be approximately $131,500 today.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's that. So now that's just dollars. Now, I was going to go off. I was going to go off on this when we get to.
Well, we can save the yeah. You can save
the
it's
juice.
up to you. You can do
You
it
can
now.
save the juice for later.
I guess it just. Well, it all depends.
Yeah, don't squeeze it yet. Hold on to it.
If Rip gave him the money for cash, or did Rip give him the money with the understanding that he was going to buy real estate? Because like the club. So the club in real estate dollars. So all right, let's take it this way. So 50 grand in just cash today would be that 131.5. Now, median prices in the housing market in LA County, this is just the real estate. Now that's up 528%. So a $50,000 piece or investment in property back then today would be worth $314,000.
Wow.
So again, did Rip look at this as an investment or just like, hey man, I'm going to give you again an investment in the real estate, or I'm just going to give you cash with I want this amount of return on it as well.
I think it's either or.
Yeah, either way, it's a shit ton.
Yes, he was going to get his claws into one thing or another,
Or was
or could have been. He could have been getting that money,
Or just keep digging deeper with those claws.
Yeah.
Julian was just asking for the 50 now. It kind of makes sense is to just get the money to pay Rip back.
Just slow him down. Just slow him down.
Yeah, I don't think he was even really interested. I think he just needed the money. And he had this whole elaborate setup.
This begs the question, did Rip give to him $50,000, or was that just the running tab he had on drugs?
Yeah,
It might have been a running tab, but for freebase, that's a lot of rock.
Yeah.
He must have been puffing like a train.
right. That's what I was wondering. Like, did he smoke that much?
Well, then again, he could have been passing it around,
Partying, just having
he
hey,
did
look
say
what I
he had
have.
a big opening party thing for the club at
Yes.
one point, and it just didn't pan out right or whatever.
But I think this club, his uncle maybe was like, man, all he's going to do is take this money and blow it on. And that's probably what he had to talk with his dad.
Well,
I think this whole thing behind this club was just bullshit to try to get more money.
Possibly.
right.
Maybe. I mean, you got to watch the movie.
Ponzi to pass it around. Yep.
So just to move things along with the little breakdown of the movie. So at this point, he realizes, I'm almost running out of options. This is where the part that I actually really remember I haven't seen this movie in years, is that he starts turning tricks, correct?
Not yet.
Not yet.
What did I miss in between that?
He goes to a party with Rip, and Rip's like, "Oh, we got a way we can work this off."
That's okay. Yeah, well, they have that talk.
And then he gets him really, really, really stoned. He gives him a bunch of rock. He's freebasing up. So this is like freebase is like one of the worst because it bites you and it holds you hard. And he's just, he's giving him a bunch. And I need you to do me a favor. I'm going to introduce you to some very important people. We're going to go to a party at this hotel room. So I think that Julian went there not thinking he was going to get pimped out, but he just went there kind of open-minded, and then one thing led to another, and then he kind of hooked up with some guys. So then Rip knew at that point, I want somebody I can trick out.
Right, because they didn't really, you saw him go to a hotel and come out of a room, but they didn't really, they alluded to maybe you can kind of take your own, at that point in the movie, you could kind of
Well, he looked like he was taking advantage of the way he's pulling his clothes together, and, he was like disheveled. And I thought that he
was wearing the same clothes like throughout pretty much the movie. And
Yeah, one thing that I don't think not anyone, but I don't think everyone caught. I mean, Julian was homeless this whole time. He was homeless.
No, they had the loft.
Okay, he was staying at Jamie Gertz.
Jamie Gertz's loft. He had the
That's
loft.
Jamie Gertz's place, but that's fair. And I guess what'll throw somebody off to believe that is that he's wearing that same goddamn white shirt with the orange burst of flame on the side the whole time.
It's a druggy thing. They don't think about changing clothes and bathing. They just keep going and going.
And
he had those sandal shoes or whatever those things were.
He just keeps waking up in the park or waking up in the beach. He's just homeless.
Right.
No, okay, so when he's freebasing, that gives him so much energy that when he crashes, he's out. You just pass out. You're just done.
We talk about freebasing. I mean, throughout the whole show, he had like he had crack dust all over his mouth.
No. There's a difference. Freebase is for the wealthy.
It's like a burn mark,
That's the ether. That's the ether cut.
All right,
That's very risky. And
so chap lips.
Well, the pipe's burning your lips.
It's like a burn mark. Yeah.
He's sucking on that glass pipe.
Glass pipe.
But you could see like throughout the movie. Obviously, I mean, his look
Turn,
gets
the
worse.
turn,
and
turn,
worse
yeah,
and
which
worse
was
and
well
worse.
done.
Right.
It was very well
Right.
done.
Yes, his body was just getting thinner and thinner. And the sad part is that Downey in real life at that time was going through these experiences. He was having issues, and some people say that this movie kind of slid him
Farther,
back into his old bad habits because he was just getting out of rehab a few times.
Yeah, that was a part that I was going to talk about later. But since you brought it up, Andrew McCarthy, and Robert Downey Jr. were told when they were in L.A. to work in this movie they were given money by the producers to go party.
To go do their thing.
And it says that, and that led Downey like spiraling because he's like, man, they told us to go party, let's party.
Yep,
And it
tore
wasn't,
it up.
might have not been the crack, but I know like cocaine,
They get into the
marijuana, drinking
It's
all
not
night.
it's free base. There's a difference.
I see. I don't know.
See, yeah, free base is with ether cut, and it's a lot stronger. It takes out the hydrocarbons, so you can burn the cocaine. Cocaine in powder form does not burn
Okay.
until you chemically alter it.
So it's still a rock.
It's not necessarily a rock. It's just a different form. Crack
Okay.
is cut with baking soda to pull the sodium out, and it becomes a sticky tar, and then it breaks down, and it's easier to burn. Crack is usually for the poor guys. The freebase is for the wealthy. Like a lot of stars did freebase.
And L.A. Ron would be holding his cooking class podcast.
Yeah.
No cooking class. No cooking class.
Later on at 12 o'clock.
This is well known. This is that's what happened to Richard Pryor when he got burned
Blew
up.
up
It
in
was
his face.
freebasing. It was the ether burn. They're burning it with ether, and that's how he got fried up.
Makes sense. That's crazy.
Very crazy.
I didn't really know the
fact.
difference. I mean, I noticed Jamie Gertz was bumping lines. The
Right.
girls were doing cocaine.
Right,
basically,
getting rusty
a little
pipes.
bit. Yeah.
They got the rusty
The
pipes.
girl's nose is bleeding.
Yep.
Wait, where are we heading now in the story? Are we heading to Palm Springs yet?
So we're basically at the point where he's just basically hitting rock bottom.
Yeah,
he's
doing flatlining.
They're kind of alluding that he's turning tricks or doing sexual favors
they break
to kind
into-
of help pay his debts.
Where he was staying at Jamie Gertz's house, and they vandalize her apartment, and they know he's close.
Well, didn't the Christmas scene come first, where he sees the
Shows
little
up at
girl?
the house. Yeah.
Yes, he
that
sneaks
was a good
into Julian's parents' house for Christmas or for the Thanksgiving.
No,
or
Clay's.
yeah.
It was
They're-
Clay's
It was
house.
Clay's
Clay's
house.
house.
For
They're at-
Christmas.
Clay's house.
He's out. He's out at the pool.
Yes.
And
Which another insane home where you're just
Yeah.
like, where are
Yes.
people's houses, man?
and Clay and Jamie Gertz are inside, and he sees him out there, and he goes out, and this is after he had then turned the trick.
Right, or whatever.
Right?
Yes.
The first one.
And you're talking the kind of money too, where like the husband's inviting like the ex-wife and his new
Yep,
wife,
the
like
whole
everybody's
family, whole
just
crew,
hanging out
and everybody
because
gets along.
yeah, because they all have money. There's nothing to like if you separate and your husband's giving you $8 million in the bank, like you ain't got
Correct.
much to worry
You
about.
want to keep them happy.
Yep.
So he basically comes to him, for the help, for the money, and he's like, "Well, let me go talk to my dad. I see what I can do." Meanwhile, when he goes in, Julian disappears, and now he's talking to the little sister, Clay's
His
little sister.
Yep.
Oh, aren't you pretty? What are you doing? This and that.
And she's playing with mommy's diamonds,
Diamonds,
Yeah, all of mommy's jewelry.
big rocks.
And then it jumps forward, and now the little girl comes out of the room, and Clay's like, "Did you see Julian?" "Yeah, I just saw him." This and that, and they realize he stole all her jewelry to pawn it.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's one thing with drugs. They're showing nobody's safe, no matter how innocent or anything. Like nothing. And he did that with his dad earlier.
Yes.
He's going back to steal CDs and whatever he could sell.
But
So-
you made a good point with the drug thing because it seemed like Jamie Gertz, Blair, and Clay were in a really good place at this time. But they were sneaking around trying to look for Julian. She's at a club right away. She goes for her coke.
Get a little bump. Her
Little bump here,
But
little bump here.
She had an addiction as well.
Yes,
and
but
she
they
was
don't try to
recovering.
show her as much.
He was like, some people have different addictive personalities. I'm sure that she was able to control it maybe a little better.
She was a working addict.
Yeah, she was able to do it and kind of function, and he was just going down
Like a
deeper and
functioning
deeper.
alcoholic.
Right,
She was
right.
like a functioning coke addict.
Well, yeah.
So now he's at the point where he's just rock bottom. He's stealing from friends and everything
Stealing from
else.
his family,
But-
broke in his house.
But Clay is still adamant, and Jamie Gertz's character, that they're gonna save him somehow,
bail
and they're
him
trying to pay his debt. They're trying to basically find him before Rip finds him, and it becomes like a race against the clock. Who's gonna find him first?
And that led to the party at Palm Springs, correct?
They're getting the invite to go out there.
Where, yeah.
Because he disappears. They don't know he's out there, and they don't know what's going on. They're just like, all right, let's just go do this thing and, go look for Julian.
So he's at a hotel room, correct?
Yeah, turning
and there's-
tricks.
And there's a party going on at a club. Was that a club they were at? The other people, the whole group?
I think it's like a rented floor. They rented out
Like
a
a
floor.
rented floor. So they go there thinking that he's there, and somebody inside that knows him is like, no. they're
Rip's
at-
having a party.
Rip's having a
yeah.
private party over here.
Yep.
So then they have, Andrew McCarthy shows up. Was she with him then at that point? I can't
No,
remember.
he went solo.
He went solo over there. Basically walks in on him like he's just getting up, like he just finished, going down on a guy. What they're insinuating is that he was,
I mean, there was a dude sitting on the bed, and he got
I
up.
don't think they were insinuating.
well,
That's
I mean,
as close as you're going to
But
get.
hang on. Back up.
well, who
Before I got
knows?
to that, remember, you forgot the one scene, though. He goes there with Rip, and he knows Rip's pissed, and he's talking to Rip in the back, and he's like, listen, I'm going clean.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
going to clean
A
myself
very
up. I'm
important
not
part.
doing
Very
this.
important part.
And then the
Forgot
thug
about
dude,
that,
what's the henchman's name?
Yeah, who's
that was Bill.
the muscle?
Bill comes out and starts burning the rock in front of him.
in front of him.
Like he's wasting it, and he just starts shaking and shivering and has to get his little pipe on. And he's like, no, I want to be clean. And then that pipe just starts talking to him.
You know, one other thing I forgot too, he did go back to his dad, and his dad did finally, he broke down and cried and like and everything. And his dad was like,
if you can stay clean for a week,
you know, this and that. So he is trying to get his life together at this point.
So we thought.
Right.
Because his dad said, we've been through this before. How many times we're going to go through this? And then like he walks away and he goes, okay, I'll do it. You know, the dad breaks down. That's when you realize,
he gives him a hug.
Trying.
Yeah.
Right.
But the money again too, like the dad's out there with like a little remote control tennis ball shooter at their own tennis court right there outside the house.
The money wasn't the issue. Was that
I know,
that
but it's just the addiction. But there had to have been a place they could send him or something.
He'd send him to rehab multiple times. I guarantee you, they probably flew him somewhere. But the dude didn't want to get fixed. He just kept getting enabled to where he got his stuff and did his thing.
But I mean, they definitely played on that aspect of like he was going there to get out of it.
Yes,
and he, you know what I mean? So,
highlighted. He was trying to make the effort to clean. At least he thought he was. And here's the thing. A lot of addicts will say, oh, I want out, I want to do it. And then their monster comes in front of them, and it just calls their name.
That's why most end up dead. I mean, hardcore addicts usually end up dead.
Depending on what their vice is. Their vice breaks them down.
So that scene had happened there, like Ron referenced, and then Clay had come back and got him out of there, loaded him up in the car, and they're trying to get out of town, basically, before Spader and them guys.
Yeah, Clay goes. He gets in a fight with Rip.
Well, he gets in a fight with and the Lynchman.
Yeah,
henchman. Excuse me.
Henchman. Yeah, but he kind of knocked. He said, "Excuse me."
The henchman. I'm sorry.
Right. So they're basically, you're right. They got in a fight and all that, and then they're trying to get out of town and get him far away from L.A. Basically, look, they were
they're just driving.
Yeah,
they're just driving and driving and driving.
Right. But
he actually did see him with the dude this time, and was like, "Oh my god, you know what have you gotten down to?" You know what I mean? He sees us and was like disgusted.
Right. So he's spent now at this time. They stop at like a gas station, and he's like stumbling and stuff. So he was really jacked up from
the body was failing,
starting to shut down.
Organ failure.
Right. So basically, they're out driving through the desert. He's sleeping. I think was
they did. Yeah, they picked her up by then. They picked up.
Yeah, she was in it.
Oh, she was in it. Yeah, they were all three in the car.
She was
together.
mad because her nose was bleeding because she was burned out from the coke in her nose.
Right.
She did dump the coke. Remember?
But the one chick had a bloody nose and was getting the rusty pipes.
Yes.
And then she was like going, "Oh my god, I got to stop this." You know what I mean? I want out of this. I'm not going to end up like this. Before she knew about Julian or anything, she had made the change that she's leaving.
And then she was in the bathroom and she had a whole vial full and dumped it out. And these girls were like, "What are you doing?"
They saw that fish scale going.
Yeah,
down.
they're like, "Are you crazy?"
Right. So they're driving and the sun's coming up, and he's trying to wake Julian up, and he's not waking up.
Right.
And it's basically at that point he realizes he's dead.
He's gone.
So the drugs finally got him, and they're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just.
I don't think they should have ended the movie like that. I found that. I think.
But it wasn't over yet.
But they shouldn't have ended the movie like. I mean, it wasn't over. They had the burying scene and all that other stuff.
Are you saying that Julian shouldn't have died?
I don't think so. I think it would have been better if he didn't. Because you expected it the whole time. You expected him to end up dead, and it happened.
Well, I think
but he died peacefully though.
True, he wasn't struggling or he wasn't on the pipe or.
Right. I think the message. I think the message was that if you get if they would have had him live, then maybe the message would have went to people. Well, you could do drugs and survive it. Maybe they were trying to just portray it as like this is where it's going to end.
It was a Reagan era movie.
Yep. No, say no to drugs. You know what I mean?
Very true. Like you said, there was some at the point you're like looking at him like, man, he's getting it, and you kind of feel bad, and then they start showing these places that they're from and these houses, and you start seeing their friends who are all in Ivy League schools, all like.
You sound a little envious over there.
No, I'm just saying you don't.
A little haterade.
I don't feel bad for him.
You sound like you got a little haterade.
A little bit, a little bit. Like you see that kind of wealth.
But he had the monkey on his back, bro. The money don't matter.
The money don't matter. But you could have found a way out. He could have found a way out.
That's the problem with drugs, dude. He couldn't say no.
I think that's the message they were trying to give you, basically. Yeah. So that was basically the movie. I mean, that's kind of how it ended.
I think Zap was going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say right before Clay and Blair agreed to go back to New York together, or the East Coast together. Right. Blair said, "Okay, look, I'm coming with you. Let's go." Which is essentially, look, I should have done this a long time ago. Let's pick up where we left off.
Right. So that's basically how the movie ends. They're driving. Is that the part at the very end when they're driving down the road?
Well, no, the very end is at the funeral. They're having
right.
They're sitting on the bench, just reminiscing. And I think it ends just with the two of them talking. And she puts her head on his shoulders, and like that's the end of the movie.
Oh, I thought there was a scene them driving away or something.
Or flying away.
Maybe he's flying away. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much like how it ends. So, I guess,
and that's how we remember it.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was a very bumpy ride, but it was a lot of acceleration though.
Right.
It's definitely worth a watch. It's
Right.
hard to find though, correct?
Yes,
If you-
I think they scrubbed it. I think they
Right.
scrubbed it.
Well, we'll get
Really?
to
With
that.
the Downey and stuff. Yeah.
Let's get to all that when we get back. Let's take a quick break here, and when we get back, we'll get into like quick tidbits and thoughts on the movie, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Happy that you're
Yes.
all still with us.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through like some of the fun facts. Who wants to start us off? Anybody got anything? I got a bunch here. If you guys got anything, just
I
spit it out.
got a quick one. Brad Pitt had a cameo in this movie.
Yeah,
Really?
I did read about that.
Really? What
Yeah.
was he?
Where?
Just one of the party scenes.
Party
Wasn't
scene
he?
way.
with all the TVs.
Yeah.
He was in the beginning part there. Yeah.
And he was paid $38 for his appearance.
That's
Right.
awesome.
Whatever it takes.
And did you actually hear a part where now he didn't have a speaking part, but I guess if you have a speaking part, you get more money or something,
Yes.
or you actually get listed.
You
in
get
the,
credits. You get
in
listed in the credits. Yes.
So he was trying to like speak a line or whatever so that he could get in the movie. You know, and to get
Hey,
like
man,
to get
he had his hustle. He had
Right.
everybody's got to start someplace. I say good for him.
yeah. So if you go on, I think you go on YouTube or whatever, look up Brad Pitt less than zero, you can probably find like that part. But it was in the party with all the TVs and stuff.
How about
like that? Yeah.
So we were talking about James Spader. I mean, so we were talking about all these people earlier, right? But at one point we went off on a tangent about James Spader, and like he played this role and he did this, this snake in the grass type drug dealer. Like he played the role really well. For this being the first time that I had seen that movie, yeah,
Yes.
I concur with that. Like this guy was sleazy, and it's amazing to see him in movies since, and then now to see him for this first time, like back then, like that young. I guess other than that, I had seen him in Wall Street, right? And he looked kind of the
Kinda the
same, but
same.
he had a completely different role, completely different job. Like he was a straight laced lawyer, blah blah blah. What a difference! Like what a difference!
So do we feel bad? Do we hate on James Spader character, Rip, or
For trying to make his money?
yeah?
Of course.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me, and I didn't want to talk about it when we were talking about the movie, but I mean, this is with most movies, but I really had a hard time looking back on it now. These people are supposed to be 18 years old, correct? Right out of high
17,
school.
18 years
And they
old,
seem
yep.
a little bit too, or is that just LA way? Like they just seem so much more
Mature?
mature.
Yes,
like
that's LA. That's
Yeah.
LA.
'Cause
That's
it's
why when you
Grow up quicker, kind of thing.
extremely.
Yeah.
Life is fast out there. Life is very fast.
Now, granted, the
you're
act-
exposed to a
It's like
lot.
New York and L.A. Kind of like the lifestyle is.
Well, New York's different.
Is it?
East Coast is real different. And
More laid back?
Another thing you could catch, you notice how they kind of put down him being from going out east? It was all like, oh, yeah, you're going to school out east. Oh, you're going back out east.
Yeah, Julian was making fun of there's girls in like LL Bean.
Yeah.
Like you got to dress warm in socks and stuff.
Igloos
Yeah.
and stuff out there.
well, that's one thing. I know the actors were obviously older, and that's usually the way it goes. But they could have portrayed them as younger. But maybe,
I thought they
like
were
you
like
said,
I thought they were 20 or what? Yeah, because
They
6
were-
months
they were
later,
right out of high
right out of high
school.
school,
So 18, 19 years old.
Yep.
yeah.
I liken it. So we all remember the 80s, right? We all remember what people looked like back then. So if you liken it to the concept of the kid's always going to be older, right? They kids can't wait to grow up. They can't wait. They can't wait. This is the epitome of the 80s in LA. So this is where parents let that happen. This is where parents say, go ahead, act as old as you want to, and then go ahead, grow up as much as you want to.
And you don't know too with Jamie Gertz's character Blair. You don't know because she was only 18 when she might have been turned on to that drugs and alcohol and stuff when she went into that business.
Okay, so when we did like the true crime thing with like Ramirez, and you guys were like, "Oh my God, he's smoking weed at 10." Dude, out in LA, that's not a big deal. That's why I kept saying, I was going, no, that's not that big a deal to me
like
because
the norm.
when I grew up, man, kids all kind kids are drinking at like 10 and 12.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. I read his first exposure to pot was at 6.
This is now look, that's the relation. That's the stuff that I
It's
kind
like
of
Anthony Kiedis and stuff. I think was similar. Raised his like dad was some sort of actor or whatever, but I guess he had him exposed. Like he had hookers and stuff hanging out at the house when he was like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Crazy early exposure. It's a total different world out there.
So there was something in the book, and Ron and I were talking, because Ron, you brought it up the other day when we were talking about the movie. In the book, the characters are supposed to be bisexual, correct?
Yes. Clay and Julian were supposed to be playing
Oh,
with
so that's why they're like such a close. The three of them, such a close bond and such jealousy behind
the
sleeping with-
interlude. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
They changed it up. Like
And
for the
also,
movie.
if you looked, when he did catch him, he didn't make a big deal about it. When he was messing with the dudes, he was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, come with me." More of the fact that he was getting tricked out by Rip as opposed to what he was doing with the guy. It was very open minded.
So this book, in June of 1985, it was optioned for the movie. They only paid like $7,500 for the movie rights to it.
Good deal.
Seems like a good amount.
Yeah, they did well.
They did well. We talked about Brad Pitt and the SAG part.
They said overseas, this movie in Argentina, it was called Corruption in Beverly Hills. And in Denmark, it was Life in the Fast Lane. And Germany had a movie called Under Zero. So they didn't have a less than, so it's under.
Just Under Zero.
Lost in translation.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
And we always like to talk about like possible roles and people that went out for roles and all that. So here are like some cool ones to think about. Now, how close they were, or if it was, actually even within a chance of having, I don't know, but these are just names that they have when you look it up. There was Keanu Reeves was maybe going to play Clay Easton before. Yeah.
No, that wouldn't have worked.
Stephen Colbert, they didn't say which role, but he was auditioned for a role in the movie. Bridget Fonda. They
For
were
Blair.
looking at her for Blair. Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland, Uma Thurman. They auditioned for roles. And
I can imagine Kiefer Sutherland as Rip.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. Yeah, he has that villainous kind of.
So
He switches, yeah.
I'm thinking of him as Ace from Stand By Me, and
Oh, yeah.
the bad
Lost-
guy vampire
Lost Boys.
from Lost
Yeah.
Boys. Like,
He's probably too masculine at the time.
So there was a movie.
Yeah, because he didn't have he doesn't have an LA look. He's more East Coast,
Right.
kind of
but
looking.
Rip, man, I'm telling you, Spader
was made for that.
on money because he played like he wanted to be a part of them, but kind of was not there. And he just toyed with them to get revenge.
Robert Downey Jr. was actually roommates with Kiefer Sutherland
I did not know that. Yeah.
Cool fact.
Mm-hmm.
when they were going to acting school together in New York.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that Andrew McCarthy directed James Spader in The Blacklist, the TV show, in 2015?
No,
No.
I did
Oh.
not see that.
Yep,
Cool,
yep.
cool.
3 episodes, yep. So they reunited later on.
And it felt so good.
I bet it did.
So Robert Downey Jr. at that time in 1985, he was in Weird Science, obviously, which everybody remembers. Back to School was another movie, and then Tough Turf was like one movie that I really like. A lot of people don't know about with James Spader. And then there was another one that it's not even a movie, but this is something I totally forgot about. But he was on SNL in 1985.
Yeah, he wasn't on there long, and then they scrubbed like the whole cast.
Yeah, it was like him and what's his name, Anthony Michael Hall, and there was a couple of those.
It was a short-lived stint for sure.
Experiment.
Yeah,
It was like a year of Saturday Night Live with that cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't last long. So I was interested. We always talk about Siskel and Ebert. Matt always brings them up.
Yes.
And are you a Siskel and Ebert fan, Zap? I never know because I feel like sometimes you're.
No, I'll disagree with them
Okay.
for sure. But I mean, I certainly respect what they did. I mean, they had a cool ass show back then. They did what, 2 or 3 movies?
Three movies in an episode.
3 movies in a half hour.
Right.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah, because I remember
And they got paid just to talk about movies.
What was the point of watching them?
Precisely.
right.
Precisely.
asking,
They were
you
just doing
watched them, but
they were
what was
just
your
their own.
point?
They were just on their own podcast.
I enjoyed it. It was on in the morning sometimes, like
What was
after.
the point of watching them?
What's the point of listening to the show?
Well,
Yeah.
The show is informative.
It's just
No,
opinions. I guess.
like if you were like, I wonder what that movie's about, or like you wouldn't even heard of like this movie unless they talked about it, because it was some odd movies that they had too that they
Well,
would.
yeah,
I
would
didn't
talk
agree
about.
with them at all. I really didn't agree with
Well,
them.
then you
too
gave 2
often.
thumbs down.
on
I
both
didn't- I
whatever
don't
they
judge.
said.
I'm not a judgmental type guy, so I don't judge.
Right. Well, Siskel and Ebert, they obviously agreed like they normally did, but not all the time. Every now and then. But Ebert liked the movie. He thought it was good. He thought it was like a good portrayal, like kind of put you in that. And
The
Siskel,
LA scene.
he did not like it. Gene Siskel did not like it. He thought they glamorized drugs and kind of made it look like, it was
How did they
glamorous.
glamorize that?
I don't know.
By dying?
That's what, there was
You
no,
dead?
there was no glamorization.
And she dumped the vial down saying that,
I guess-
she didn't want to be hooked on it.
Yeah, I guess maybe just the setting and where they were at. I don't know really what they were looking at, but Ebert brought up Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, being a drug addict and addicted to drugs, and he thought he did a good job portraying that. And I thought he did
Because he was
pretty
on
good job.
drugs pretty much the
I
whole
don't
movie.
personally know
probably.
anybody that was that strung out on drugs like that, but I mean, from what people say, it was a good performance. Ebert liked his performance. Siskel thought it was okay.
Maybe Siskel had an addiction problem
Yeah.
and didn't like seeing it.
But like
Maybe.
what L.A. Ron was talking about, they did, like McCarthy and Robert Downey were told to party as much as they could before, like even coming on set, so they would look tired or whatever, like just to get
Worn
into
out,
this.
yes.
Yeah, and they said Jamie Gertz also had a hard time keeping up with Robert Downey Jr. Like they started getting really close, and she started like spiraling a little bit, not as bad as him,
Dabbling.
dabbling,
Having a
yes,
little too much Hollywood fun.
and she couldn't keep up. What were you gonna say earlier, Dave, about Rick Rubin?
Oh,
The
so
soundtrack?
yeah, the soundtrack on this
Yes,
movie
yes.
was very, very impressive. I mean, I think it covered like a ton of genres of music.
Rick Rubin, who was with what, Beastie Boys, Run DMC,
Well, he-
correct?
well,
Yeah, he
he
LL
started
Cool
it.
J.
East
He
Coast
started
scene.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
East Coast.
Also was in Rick Rubin did a lot of like hard rock. Also, he did all genres of
He
music.
did Slayer.
Slayer, correct?
What's that?
One of the
The
bands
band.
that did one of the songs in this soundtrack.
Okay.
Slayer also did a soundtrack with Public Enemy. They had a song together on.
No, that was Anthrax.
That was Anthrax.
Oh, that was Anthrax.
Yeah,
correct.
Bring the
correct.
Noise.
Bring the
Yeah,
noise.
bring
Good
the
try.
noise. Yeah,
I
so
did. I
that,
tried, but Slayer was on that also soundtrack.
so this soundtrack certified gold, so 500,000 copies at least, probably more than that.
I have a copy.
Do you have a copy of
Yes, I
it?
do. Soundtrack.
There was 3 singles they released for this one. They had Hazy Shade of Winter,
Ouch.
Rock and Roll All Night,
Okay.
which was by Poison.
Poison,
correct.
local band.
Local band, yes, Poison.
Mechanicsburg.
Yes. And then going back to Cali was LL
Cool J.
Fitting song for going back to Cali.
I
you
don't
know,
think
from-
so.
Yeah, from him coming from the East Coast back.
That was a
to-
chick. He's going back to the chick, Jamie Girth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the song's about.
Is that what it's about?
Yeah.
Well, they played that during the scene where they were making out like out on the terrace or whatever.
See, going back to Jamie Girth.
Right. So if you look through the soundtrack, Rick Rubin's name's all over it. You had Life Fades Away by Roy Orbison. Rick Rubin produced on that. The Poison song, going back to Cali. There's a Danzig song
Danzig,
on here
yeah.
from the Misfits, You and Me, Less Than Zero. The cover that Zap's talking about.
By Slayer?
Yeah.
Inagata Devita.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which who was that? Do you remember who the original
Iron Butterfly.
Iron Butterfly? Okay. Yeah, didn't say here.
Slang and butterflies with iron. Man, he got some names.
You got Bring the Noise by Public Enemy.
Yep.
Who's an East Coast band. Is on, with LL Cool J as well, being East Coast with the rap. Who else we got on here? Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Hazy Shade of Winter, like you mentioned during the thing, the Bangles. That was a remake, and I didn't realize that was a remake of a Simon and Garfunkel song.
Oh, it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And there was a scene in the club where there was a band playing. It was the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And I-
Yeah, whatchamacallit's in there, isn't it? What's the little dude's name from the
Flea?
Flea?
Flea's in there. Flea's he's an extra.
But they said they took him out, correct?
Did
well,
they
they-
take him out?
Yeah,
No,
well,
they took the whole band out. I think they've
Yeah,
has
well,
the fact on it.
I think they had like a lot, like this movie I think was shot and they had a lot of scenes that were taken out and it kind of toned the movie down. And that a lot of it was with the Chili Peppers and that. I mean, not a lot of it, but they had a lot more of the live music scenes. And then I think maybe some of the drug stuff and
Yeah,
this and that.
I think Flea was an actor and because he pops up in like as a drug addict or like a hardcore guy in some movies here. Like he was in what's the one with with the surfer guys?
Point Break?
Point Break.
Point
Flea
Break.
was in
Oh,
Point
was he
Break.
in that?
Yeah. And a couple other like movies he has cameos. But yeah, they said that they were too like sweaty and bare chested. They didn't want him in the movie. They didn't want to give that kind of
Vibe.
yeah, which is a movie about drugs. So
Well, probably because it was an uppity, like Beverly Hills type crowd, and they would have been more clean cut and not sweaty.
I only have one more fact that in 2010, a loose sequel to Less Than Zero was put out to some companies. Nobody really wanted to do what the original cast, and nobody really wanted to jump on
To
it.
jump on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it brings us back to,
all
I
I
forgot,
got.
we talked about in Menace to Society. Ron was talking about the sequel for Menace to Society. And we were talking about it's not out yet, but it's something that they're working on,
Is in
like in the works or whatever like that.
Another thing that always confuses me that a lot of time out in LA, they'll do these like theater previews of thoughts that they have, and they'll splice a movie together or kind of fudge it together, and they'll have like a sample crowd come in and get our reactions to what we liked, what we didn't like, get a feeler for if this will work and what direction do they want to take it in.
Because we were trying to figure out during the podcast, like what movie, like did we see that one? Is it one, this and that and the other? But it's, if you go on IMDb and stuff, there's stuff about it, but it's not
Not released.
And I
not
think-
out yet.
Right.
Us a general consensus for us with the vintage cinema review guys here. I don't want to like speak out of turn or whatever, but we're not big on the remakes or the when they try to redo a movie. Correct?
No, that's sacrilege.
yes.
Yeah, just,
And a lot of these movies too, when they look at Zap, would say the juice not worth the squeeze.
Juice is
or
not
whatever.
worth the squeeze. If it's losing money,
Yeah,
that's just numbers.
But after putting feelers out, like you said, they look at some of these movies like people don't want to see this
No.
again. They're like,
or it's too hard to make it good. If they start
Yeah.
saying, oh, this needs
Yeah.
to go that way, this needs to go that way.
yep.
Yeah, but that's a big thing out west that you can get in on those and those like premiere events or whatever.
All right, yeah,
So one other last thing, that the TV scene with all the TVs, that was actually filmed in a real nightclub out in LA. I had a little fact about that. So
Huh.
so that those
Or legit.
those are legit. Like I guess that's
Like
part
they were
of their
part of the
Yeah.
the setup.
I mean, I'm sure it was intertwined with shots from a house or whatever.
That looked just like the vault. I thought they were in the vault. Actually,
Yeah.
they were not.
See, I would have liked to seen the value on those monitors, like what that, because I'm an AV. I'm into the AV stuff, like how much money they spent on, which they probably rented on. I'm sure, like you said, you can rent stuff like that and all that. But
There was far too much color in that club. The vault was all black all day, wasn't it?
Were you guys old enough for the vault?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, I went to the vault.
We had like
I
two.
remember going when I was 21. Yeah,
You
we
took
went.
me. Yeah, my when I turned 21 because Dave he turned 21
Club,
before me.
wait. It was Metron. You guys were too young for the Metron.
We missed the Metron was closing like I think the year we turned 20 or 21. Yeah,
Okay.
we
Yeah, I
missed
never,
the Metron.
I never went. There was Wanda's or whatever. Well,
Yeah, Wonderful
Metron
Wanda's
was
on
on
the-
Cameron Street.
yeah,
Metron's on
the
Cameron
West
Street.
Shore.
Yeah.
But no, the vault was it was just all black. There was no color in the thing. There was no. It had a pool table like in the middle and the bar in the club up top, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And that was downtown?
Dave took me there on my 21st because he was a month before me, and we walked in. They were like playing that woohoo, like this is the coolest place in the
You guys
world.
were loving it.
Like I never seen like just like the motion, like the floor, because it was like the lights. So you're looking out there and just like the floor is just like moving. You're like, man, this is the coolest place.
Yeah, it was definitely
experience.
An experience.
Yeah, turning 21, but nothing like I saw in this movie with these
No.
clothes and stuff like that.
They were only 18 too.
Listen, 16, 17, you can get in clubs out there. Not even, and depending on what area you're in, they don't question. They just, all right, go ahead, do your thing.
You're in.
No, not even money.
Not even money, no. Just everybody.
Because you can't tell who has money.
It's true.
So another crazy fact, like out west, like I'm from Pedro, so they do a lot of filming like on the street, like you can't believe. There's so many movies that I see. Oh, I used to live there. I used to live there. But they just do like live filming, like right on the street, to where you can just get in on it. So with that said, it's like you'll see a lot of stars just like walking into restaurants and things like that. Out there, it's not like you don't see a crowd running for them. Just like okay, whatever. You're just cool, laid back. Just put two pants on and stuff.
Right. It's a whole nother world, probably than what
It's
we're
different.
used to.
Like Mark Wahlberg had what did he do out there? He just did a recent film, maybe about 3 years ago, and he was worried about going into this restaurant, and so he sent somebody in. They're like, "Would it be cool if you came in here?" They're like, "Yeah, of course." But of course, this is Facebook time. They did a post, and he was able to go in and eat, and everything was great. But when he came out, there was like a herd of like 6,000 or 7,000 people, because LA you can get there quick, and it was just like a swamp of people. Then it messed up the filming because all these cars were like on, like kind of on set for the filming of it.
It's just like Wahlberg. Like he has a movie career. How?
Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever see Andy Samberg do his
Yeah, he does animals.
Mark Wahlberg talking to him?
animal.
Hey, goat, how's it going, goat? Say hi to your mother for me.
Yeah, say hi to, hey, it's me.
hilarious.
Mark,
Yeah,
it's Mark
good.
Wahlberg tossed to animals.
Yeah.
But he does. I think they said Wahlberg was pissed about that.
I don't know. He went on and did it with him then.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you guys got any other facts on the movie before I forget? I think I got all of them on my sheet. I don't know if I'm missing anything.
No, man. I just, I hit on mine. My little facts.
I know. I found it interesting that so one other piece of the soundtrack included "Rocking Pneumonia" and "The Boogie Woogie Flu,"
Yes, I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that,
Rockin'
yes.
So that was-
pneumonia.
Towards the end.
covered by Aerosmith. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So Aerosmith is an interesting turn of a band. So I see that in the timing of this movie, how it all came out. So in 1987, this movie comes out. Also in 1987, Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation album came out. Now that was the first album they had done ever where they were all clean. The whole damn band was clean.
Oh.
And what got them back into it was doing Walk This Way with Run DMC in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
So had it not been for that, nobody would have known who Aerosmith was anymore.
Kind of put
Nobody.
them back on the map a
They
little bit.
completely put them back on the map. And
With
so,
the young people.
right.
Yeah,
And so as we're talking
re-energized.
about addiction and stuff like this, it's stuff like, let's say, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Steven Tyler was the worst the worst addict. So he wasn't burning family money or anything like that. He was burning his own money. And I'm talking mailbox, royalty, radio play, record sales, tour money, merch sales, you name it. He would blow it all to the point where before they did that Run DMC video, he was living broke as a joke in some studio piece of shit rundown place. Like he had no money at all. So to see that, again, just with the timing of this and the nature, or I should say the nature of this movie, it was just really coincidental that these guys are on here.
Doesn't
That's wild. I didn't even think about that.
Steven Tyler looks like the cool mom in high school who used to let you drink at her house?
I saw that meme. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I forgot I did want to. I heard it on like another show. I don't know if I saw it on maybe even on the Siskel and Ebert thing or something where they were talking about Less Than Zero, and they brought up that how the people in this movie, they had Christmas trees at the different houses. It was like Christmas time, and they said all the Christmas trees were artificial, were fake, and they were saying that they were trying to connect that to saying like the people were kind of being fake, like the people that lived in the house, the people that are living out there. They were like, oh, I wonder if that's like they were trying to draw on a correlation between the two.
Picture.
Like everything's artificial, everything's not really how you see it. Basically, like
Listen, the movie was
I don't
filmed
know.
in the summer, but they just had the
Do the set.
the
Another
December
odd
look.
thing is they had Christmas trees. There's a high Jewish community out there, so I'm surprised it wasn't like Hanukkah or something.
oh yeah, true. Huh? I didn't think about
that
that.
was
either.
odd.
It was they weren't celebrating holidays.
I mean, in
Christmas in your face.
in LA Christmas celebrators' defense, I got to believe that pine trees aren't necessarily indigenous to
Yeah, you would be hard
LA
to
County.
find.
Like it's hot there. It's hot,
But
but warmer more often than not than other places where pines are more prevalent. Go up to Northern California, sure, you'll find all the pines and redwoods you want.
Them people will fly it in from Switzerland.
Cool.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I wonder what it cost them.
fair.
I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be some crazy stuff like that.
That's absolutely
My
fair.
dad flew this in from so and so. It's the genuine thing.
And they'll get the temperature just right so it survives.
They like buy reindeer to put in the yard for a night.
You'd be surprised at the
Fake
crazy,
snow.
the crazy crap that they do just to show their opulence and their money. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely was definitely a different movie from what we did last week. Like you talked about, we did Menace to Society, and this is showing you another part of
Yep,
LA.
from one
and
extreme to
culture,
the
one
from the
extreme
bottom to the
other.
top.
Right.
They're both train rides.
So in closing, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I don't know that I ever watched it all the way through. I saw bits and pieces. I definitely remember the part about him turning tricks and stuff like that. Didn't remember a lot of the other storyline. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I thought it held up. It was, I'm sure for Ron, you probably, growing up out there, you had a lot of.
It was pros and cons. Some of it was sad. I hated to see him go down that path. But a good point with this would be a lot of times we envision that happening to a woman. You know what I mean? A female. But now you're seeing a man do it, and it's so much more traumatizing.
Oh, the sexual stuff.
It just bites you harder to where if it's like a woman turning tricks, heterosexual sex, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of what happens.
Right.
But when you see it go reverse to a guy, it's just like, wow, man, he must have really been in a bad way. Yeah.
What were your thoughts, Zap?
I don't know. I had one more fun fact.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, no.
Keep
Hey,
it fun, buddy.
No,
Keep it slick.
We're doing it. So
Boil it up.
in 1999, Robert Downey Jr., while still very much addicted to drugs, he failed to he failed to take a drug test while he was on parole. So he goes to court and blah blah blah, and he hired the exact same legal team as O.J. Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Dream Team. They have a name. Dream Team.
The Dream Team. So it's not just for basketball anymore. So ultimately, he received a 3-year sentence, but he only served 1, just shy of 1 year. And
Wow.
the judge had said, okay, look, 3 years is too much for missing a piss test or missing whatever on a parole. I don't know. That's just what I read.
Do you know what they really do, though? They do like 30 days,
Oh, yeah?
if that much, maybe 2 weeks.
Well, then I guess this guy did close to a year, so that's a long time.
He probably didn't do that long.
Yeah.
Because one time he got caught walking in somebody's house drunk, went to the wrong neighbor and went into their home, and he was supposed to be in jail.
Jesus.
And it was on the news. Like, wait a second, he's supposed to be incarcerated? How is he doing this?
Can you imagine somebody taking a selfie? Hey, I'm scared as shit. I thought you were a prowler, but hey, since it's Robert Downey Jr., can I take a picture with you?
It was videos. They didn't have selfies back then. It was a regular camera, but it was on video camera, and they were going to shoot him actually.
Shit, I
no.
would.
Yeah. Well, just somebody walks in your door. This is now we're talking Malibu, so this is like out in the sticks, and they're very wealthy people. And he went down a long driveway, and they're like, "You didn't realize before you got there."
Robert Downey Jr.'s passed out in their bathroom.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. But I guess, if we're going to close like with each of our own thoughts on the movie, I didn't necessarily like this movie. Like for me, it was nostalgic to see the actors that I know, like the big names that we know when they were younger. But I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the progressive drug use. Like seeing that in any kind of movie, like it's just weird. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's almost unnerving to see like a human being doing that to themselves. So
I think that was Zap's public service announcement.
Okay. I'm just saying. Typically, people who can't stand or it bothers them, they have their own personal addiction, so they see themselves in a similar pattern.
Oh, okay. Or maybe I just don't like seeing human beings kill themselves. I don't know. I
Oh,
guess you could
oh,
put
the
that either way.
Dugas.
We all kill ourselves every day we get up.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Life cycle.
We get
Called
one day
work.
closer.
Or
One day
second,
closer.
second day, whatever, you know.
What were your thoughts on it, Matt?
It's a interesting movie to see, the friendship between these three people and how, they have everything. These kids were given everything, and how nobody can escape stuff in life like drugs or addiction, things like that. I just thought, it was a good watch. I wish it ended differently, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Did you catch why he became an addict?
No.
His mother dying.
Oh.
He had a problem with the loss of his mom. Clay was talking about ever since his mom died. He was really close to her, and
I remember this.
he's starting to come to you now.
Yeah.
So then I think it was a phone call he kept waiting for, and then it turned to something else, and it went from something.
His dad ended up sending a fake telegram to him from his. Thank you, L.A. Ron. His dad ended up sending a fake telegram to him saying, "Hey, this is your mom. Blah blah blah. I'm dead. You're not going to see me anymore." And he ended up carrying that telegram with him around with him for like a year or so, or a couple of years, or whatever it was.
So
I
it just started
forgot about that.
rolling, and that's when he started going off on his little tangents and trying to find an escape or try to be close to his mom.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. I
That was,
remember
I
that.
think that was at the end when they were sitting on the
It was
bench.
at the end. They started
okay.
talking about it, what happened. And I think that was supposed to be a flashback of how he got where he was. It wasn't just that this guy was partying and got hooked on stuff. It was a traumatic event that kind of led him towards that.
One thing I will tell you, though, in closing on this movie, it's hard to find. Luckily, Ron had a copy, and he was able to pass it along to us. And I know, Zap, you were able to land a copy, obviously, to watch it. But
The internet's a big place.
It is. But it's very hard to find.
Yes,
Like,
they
you're not going
scrubbed
to find it. Yeah.
They call that scrubbing. Like
Yeah.
when actors and actresses don't want their stuff out, they have a way of making
getting
it
rid of it.
disappear.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, usually you can pull it up on a rental or whatever, or HBO Max.
And
or something.
mechanicals. There's mechanicals on that to where these guys have big ones, payments for the reviewing. So everybody wants it gone, so nobody has to pay out money.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it is hard to find, but I'm sure you can track down a copy. We were able to, and check it out and come to your own conclusion on it. Like I said, I guess that's it. You guys got anything else? And
I thought it was enjoyable.
yeah, no, like I said, I mean, definitely, like he said about the nostalgic part. I think that sometimes you watch older movies, like a newer movie. I don't know, is more. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Some movie, I don't think that movie was dated at all. Like I thought it didn't seem like it was as old as it was or anything like that. But,
The drugs didn't go away.
But they're off that stuff. They're not. There's other stuff that's out here now. Changed up a little bit.
right.
Coke was the preferred drug back then. CIA sponsored.
Could redo it with Molly or something.
Who?
Yeah,
I
maybe
said put them all on Molly.
Molly,
What's
the
that?
drug.
The drug.
Oh,
I don't know what's big now.
Who knows?
I'm too old for that stuff.
Yeah, I try to stay away from it, but
He tries.
Yeah.
I do. I do.
I do.
I do.
I try to stay away from it.
We got another
Well,
less than zero part 2
Yeah, we
in
all
the
have
basement.
our drugs that we do, but no. But I guess next week we're going to do The Outsiders from 1983. Looking forward to that. L.A. Ron, thanks again for hanging
Hey,
out.
thanks for having me. It's always enjoyable.
Thanks, Ellie Ron.
Zap, as always.
Hey, thanks,
Zap,
fellas.
thanks, Zap.
Matt, as always.
Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Thanks.
I guess that's it for now. We'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for listening to The Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.